another episode of Unfiltered Talk Show. Today at our studios, we are being joined by Mr. Andrew. Welcome to our studios again, and our viewers there want to know who are you and what do you do?
Well, thank you. I'm now, since COVID, retired and get to spend my time trying to keep fit, and decided to come to Kenya first in 2021. Now I've come back for a second time. Really like it here. It's great to train, and I'm 52 years of age, so I've got no chance really of winning races. But it's just nice to be able to keep fit and in the good clean air, running the Kaptagat forest.
Generally, you are here in Kenya, not there in England. What brought you here to our country, Kenya?
Hustler.
Hustling.
A hustler.
Oh.
A hustler. So I'd heard about, I'd spent time at altitude before, and I wanted to see if I could train at altitude and improve. And I first heard about going to Uganda, actually. Then I later heard about training in E10, and through YouTube I met someone from Kaptagat,
Yes, Kaptagat.
who kind of, and I have to say, hustled me. He got me to stay in a house in Strobag for 18,000 shillings a month. It should have been 2,000. So
In Strobag.
In Strobag, yeah.
Yes.
So I paid a little bit over the odds there, but it was good because if it hadn't been for meeting him, I never would have. I would have just gone to E10.
Yes.
And to be quite honest, I quite like it in Strobag. I like it there.
As an athlete now, you are saying you're an athlete. What are some of which race do you run? You take
Well,
part in?
to be honest, I'm really of the opinion that racing in England is so expensive. To give you an idea, it can cost as much as 15,000 shillings just to enter a race, and I have no real chance of winning. So, or even coming in the top 20. So, I enjoy keeping fit and having my own personal goals. I try to do. We have some great free races actually. Each Saturday there's a thing called Park Run in the UK, and it's not strictly speaking a race, but we do those short events. But if you want to do something big like Manchester City Marathon or London Marathon, the costs are huge to go into there. So for me it's a little bit prohibitive to race in the UK.
What is this that makes you get prohibited from taking place in this or taking part in these athletics like London Marathon and Manchester?
Well, for London Marathon, you have to be able to run unless you run with a charity, unless you're raising money for a charity, you have to be able to run within a specific time.
Yes.
Not sure what that is. It's probably just around sub 3 hour marathon for my age, which I can do. I can run sub 3. But as I say, really it comes down to the cost. It's expensive. And you spend time in London. You've got to, if you're going to race in London, you've got to spend the night in the hotel there. Transportation, it's a little bit too much. It gets a lot.
Thank you for that information. Now in this sports field, you are now in athletics. What's your best time? Just give us your best time.
Well, so I've only been running since 2019. And I did 2 hours 55 for a marathon.
2 hours 55.
Yeah.
Yes.
16 minutes 51 for 5k. I mean, these are really very, very slow. But I'm 52. I'm 52. I'm 53 soon. I'll give myself a little bit of credit. Those are pretty good times for your average. I know they're nothing for people here, but for me, I'm still quite proud of it.
Thank you. You said you are doing very good now that you are that much old and you are picking in the races and doing great in getting good number. Now as Andrew, what is this that is your worst in sports performance now?
My worst recently?
Yeah.
Well, do you know, it's funny, I think just lately I've gone through a period when I've been training. Just lately, the last few months, or the last 6 weeks I say.
Major in training.
When I've been training where you know those days where your legs are heavy, you go out, you do it, but you just don't have the energy. And I feel actually like I've kind of just come through that. I've had a few positive days, and maybe my diet's changed a little bit. Maybe I've drank a bit more water. I do feel now I'm just beginning to peak just in time for going back home. So I'm kind of confident, but everyone has bad days, you know.
Right, thank you. Now let us come. You are an athlete. You have those strengths that makes you be the best. What are some of these strengths that makes you believe that I'm the best athlete?
Well, I certainly don't believe I'm the best.
Yes.
Perhaps I should believe more. I should have more confidence in myself.
Yes.
But I think I've got quite good genetics. I think in that I don't have to struggle with weight. I seem not to put weight on, so I'm quite fortunate in that respect. Certainly, that's for an endurance athlete, that's important. I think that also having had a base of training throughout my life, I began as a cyclist. I think that just helped me to have that good base engine in me, and just having that background of fitness as a teenager and a young adult, it stays with you. You know the mindset, you know what is required to go out and train.
Yes.
You know, it's not like I'm starting from being overweight and I'm thinking, right, I'm gonna. We have this thing where we call it couch to 5K. This is for people who spent all their life on the couch and then they want to run 5 kilometers. For me, I've been fortunate in that I've been able to get into it quite quickly. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Now that you are in our country, Kenya, maybe in Kaptagat, so our viewer there will be asking too for ourselves that what is this that is in Kenya and also there in England that made you be proud and just come join our athletes here in Kenya?
Well, the major choices, as I say, were the desire to try to train at altitude. The cost of living is not as expensive here either. Cost of living is quite reasonable, and the weather's fantastic as well. I could never train somewhere where it was 30 degrees centigrade, but to be able to train in Kaptagat where it's roughly around 20, 22 degrees, it's a nice climate, yeah, not too windy, you know, and also training with people who are also doing the same thing, it gives you motivation.
What do you normally do in your free time besides being an athlete?
Well, I have spent a lot of time as a landscape photographer.
Landscape photographer?
Yeah, I spent quite a bit of time as a landscape photographer. And also I like to hike as well. And in fact, hiking goes hand in hand with being a landscape photographer. So I like to do a lot of long distance hiking. You know? Yeah, where you carry everything on your back, a backpack with you, your sleep, your tent and all the rest of it. So I do quite a lot of that.
Yes. How do you now manage this recreational time of yours and the one for athletics now?
Sorry,
how do you now go about in this recreational activities and manage your time and the time of being an athlete?
Well, I think that sometimes I think it's important not to be too hung up on there are other, especially at my age, there are other priorities in life.
Yes.
So I don't aspire to be professional.
Yes.
And so I do allow myself to do other things. For instance, in the summer, in June, I'm starting to do a hike for 3 months. I'll be hiking every single day, more than 42 kilometers a day, so more than a marathon every day. And that will probably mean that come September when I finish, that my speed will have decreased a lot. But you know, I think it's important to do different things, not to be too hung up on running all the time.
You should at least get time and do the other activities like hiking also.
Yeah, just to have other interests, not be 100% fixated on running. However, it's a bit different if I was, if I was 19 and I had promise. If I was 18, 19 and I had promise, I'd be putting everything into it. It's a bit different when you're 52.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. Remember, this program is brought to you by Premier Atlanta Consultancy Limited, partnering with that of Atlanta Media and Events. Now, Andrew, let us come to this. Now, there in Hafsa, which athlete, who not specifically being an athlete who you've mentored? I don't, strictly speaking, feel that I'm mentoring the athletes there, the scholarship athletes. Yes.
They do ask me questions. They want to know what it's like in England.
Yes.
They want to be able to know about scholarship opportunities in England, and whether they can race in England. And I think, as I was alluding to before, the racing is not great. Just to give you an idea of the racing, so I think 3 weeks ago you had races in Capsabet. The top prize for the race in Capsabet was 250,000 shilling. And in Manchester, in Manchester in England, the north of England, there is a marathon there every year, and the top prize for that race is about the equivalent of 300,000 shillings.
Yes.
But it's 15,000 shillings to enter. And I think I'm right in saying Capsabet was only 200 shillings to enter.
Yes.
The prizes for the Manchester Marathon are only the top 5 places.
Yes.
The prizes for Capsabet were the first top 10 places. So you ask yourself, would you want to go all the way to England to do a race, to do one race, when you can stay in Capsabet? Now, the only thing is, I will say that the race in Manchester was won with a winning time last year of 2 hours 16 minutes, which is, by Kenyan standards, it's quite slow. Yeah. So it's one of the things that people, if they're asking me questions, I want them to know that it's not the land of milk and honey in England. Transportation to races, accommodation, everything, food is all much more expensive. I think if that's one thing that I think I should put across to as many people as possible, is that it can be a struggle, particularly in England.
Right. Now there is this athlete who is watching us there, and he or she wants to travel there, and just want to know how races are being conducted there in England, since you come from England. Just give us that layout on how these competitions are being done and the prices after they have won in the race.
Yeah, I mean, if you're racing really top races like the London Marathon, then the prizes are huge. I believe the prizes for the London Marathon, I think I'm right in saying that one of the highest, the London Marathon is, I think, one of the highest prizes in all marathons. But you've got to be the top 1% of 1% of 1% to stand a chance of winning there. So I think the likelihood is that many athletes are going to China and going to India. I have friends in India now racing, and that could be a good start for someone. of course, the dream is to go to America as well, to get a scholarship in America. And when I see people going, I only heard just a couple of days ago of someone who, after 4 attempts, has got a scholarship to go to America. You know, and it's just a beautiful thing to hear that, to know, because I've spent a lot of time in America as well, for me to know that they're going there and how much that's going to change their life. Also, just when I see the effort that people put into to get a chance to study in America, something that we take for granted. You know, we take our education for granted in England or Europe and in America. So it's a beautiful thing to see the work that Kenyans put into just for that small chance, you know, to go to America. It's
Thank you. Now that you just informed us on that breakdown of how races are being organized, like you're telling majority of them just go outside other countries and do their races. Here in Kenya, majorly there in here, you've done a race as an Andrew. What pushed you, and just give us that breakdown of how this competition, what made you do that race, and are you planning to start another race coming?
Yeah, so about 3 weeks ago, I did manage to put a race together, and I had done the same kind of events or the same place. We did the Nauru. We called it the Chapati Challenge in 2021 because I only had money to give out for chapati. That was all I had. So it was the Chapati Challenge, you know. And this time I was able to pay for the transportation. I was able to pay for chapatis and tea, and but with good prizes as well. Not just for the top athletes. I wanted to feel that we had a raffle afterwards, so I wanted to feel that even the slowest athletes stood a chance of getting something. You know? So that was great. It was a mix between 5 kilometres for the slower beginners, through to 10 kilometres for the faster men. And I'd love to be able to do that again. I managed to get some quite generous donations. One friend of mine put 27,500 shillings in on his own. You know, so that made a big difference. It's a nice thing to do.
Are you planning to do another one?
I'd like to. I really would like to. I'd like to do one between, in Strobag, there's 2 scholarship groups, and I'd like to be able to do one combined with the 2 groups if possible. Yeah.
What is this? Thank you, you're doing a very good job. There is this thing that is much unique about Andrew, and at least there in Strobag or Kaptagat has just seen from you. What is this that makes Andrew unique?
I don't think I'm unique. Some might disagree, but I think that I think it's natural when you see how much difference it can make to people. You know, I was able to give out prize money that was sufficient to pay people's rent for months on end in some cases. You know, they could pay several months of rent just in one prize, and that was just a nice thing to do, to be able to help people, especially people who deserve it. I feel.
Interest outside sports?
Outside of sports, well, the hiking, the photography, I suppose. But yeah, I think I'm just really enjoying my running.
Right.
You know.
Like the recreational things that
Yeah, exactly. It's more recreational running for me.
As we finish our program, any challenge as an athlete, majorly here in Kenya?
A challenge for me in Kenya?
As an athlete now?
Yeah, well, I mean, I leave Kenya in 10 days' time, but, you know, I don't really aspire. I could have gone and maybe done the Kapsabet races 3 weeks ago, but I would have been lashed by a long way, you know. And that's not going to help motivate me. it's not going to motivate me. What's going to motivate me is when I go back home. Maybe I'll enter our Saturday 5 kilometre race, and if I come in the top 3, I'll be happy, you know. So, yeah, I have no aspirations to race in Kenya.
Now, if you had a chance just to go to the authorities there, what would you tell them?
Yeah, well, I'd really like to be able to promote another race, possibly next year. I'd like to come back next Christmas, actually. And it doesn't take a great deal. It would only take a few small donations. So I put together a little video when we did the race. And I'd like to be able to show some of the shops, some of the sports shops in my town, the difference that those donations, their donations could make. And then with a bit of luck, I had 50 people in the race last time. Maybe with the second group, the second scholarship group, we could have 100. That would be great. It just needs a few more donations. And I think, as I say, it can make a huge difference to a lot of young athletes.
Thank you. Thank you, viewer, for being with us during this interview. And remember, this program has been brought to you by Premier Atlanta Consultants Limited in partnership with Atlanta Media and Events. My name is Dennis. Keep